With a developing drama that stretches from the courtroom to the chambers of power, after a landmark court ruling reinstates Senator Natasha Apoti-Uduaghan as the rightful representative of Kogi Central, the big question now stirs the nation. Will the Nigerian Senate honor the court's directive and allow her resume her seat? Or will the political undercurrents shape a different outcome? Welcome to the big story on Daybreak Live, where we dissect the headlines behind the headlines. I'm Samson Balogo, and today we dive into the legal, political, and constitutional tensions in the court versus chamber. Will Senator Natasha Apoti-Uduaghan be allowed back on the floor of the House? The Senate is the heartbeat of Nigeria's legislative arm, but today that heart is under judicial and public scrutiny. The courtroom has spoken, declaring Natasha Apoti as the lawful and, of course, representative of our people, of our senatorial district. But what happens when legal pronouncements meet political resistance? The moment calls us to reflect on the integrity of all institutions, the law, the legislature, and the will of the people. As we explore the issue with our guests this morning, who will join us shortly, but of course Yemi Adelakun is here. Together we'll start this. We are not just discussing one senator's fate. We are examining the soul of Nigerian democracy and the power struggle between justice and politics. Good morning once again. Samson Balogo is my name. Let's take a quick rundown at how it began, how it happened. December 8, 2023, alleged harassment incident. Senator Natasha Apoti-Uduaghan, accompanied by her husband, attended Akpabio's birthday, which is the Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, in Uyo. She later alleged that during a tour of his home, Senator Akpabio held her hand and said, "I'm going to create time for us to come spend quality moments here. You will enjoy it." A motion in the Senate was reportedly obstructed after she rebuffed him. Now, on February 20, 2025, there was a chamber confrontation over sitting and the sitting arrangement. Senator Natasha discovered a nameplate removed and seat reassigned. She raised repeated points of order, clashed openly with Senator Akpabio, and was referred to the Ethics and Privileges Committee. Late February 2025, that was February 2028, there was a sexual harassment allegation made public. In an interview, Senator Natasha Apoti-Uduaghan formally accused Senator Akpabio of sexual harassment, citing the December 2023 incident and asserting his motives extended to obstructing her motions, especially one on Ajaokuta still rolling. Now, let's go straight to March 4 to 5, 2025. Ethics Committee hearing begins and the petition filed. The Senate Ethics Committee, chaired by Neda Maswin, opened a probe into her conduct. Meanwhile, Senator Natasha Apoti refiled a petition for 100 billion naira defamation damages against Senator Akpabio, the Senate President. 6 months suspension was announced. A few weeks later, that was March 6, 2025, the Ethics Committee dismissed the harassment petitions on procedural grounds, self-signature, and recommended a 6-month suspension for misconduct. The full Senate approved, stripping her office and, of course, her pay and security access. March 7 to 8, 2025, there was a public backlash and Senate clarification. Women's rights groups were held Natasha. Civil society and ex-minister Obi Ezekwesili demanded an urgent Senate session investigation and Akpabio stepping aside. Senate leader Bamidele clarified the suspension was solely for procedural misconduct, not harassment claims. All in all, there was a call for apology and more pressure that came with it. Youth groups urged Apoti to apologize. FIDA and women's associations demanded the independent probes and Akpabio's resignation. Traditional leaders defended Akpabio, vouching for his integrity. That was on March 9 to 10, 2025. Moving on to March 11 and 14, Senator Apoti presented a case at an Inter-Parliament Union, which is the UN Women's Forum in New York. Back in Abuja, she sued Senator Akpabio and filed a court contempt proceedings. A court reprimanded the Senate leader for defying an interim order that led to a suspension. Of course, a lot happened since then, dated, but moving straight to July 4, 2025, there was a court intervention and lifting of suspension. An Abuja court ruled a suspension excessive, lifting it, but finding her in contempt of a gag order, fined 5 million naira, which is about $3,250 US. Now, we'll take a critical look at the situation this morning. Yemi Adelakun is in the building with me. Good morning to you once again.
Good morning, Samson Balogun.
I know you've got a lot to say about the situation of things with Senator Natasha Apoti-Uduaghan's back and forth with the Senate president, and of course a suspension going on, and accusations back and forth. At a point, there were insinuations that her home was attacked in Kogi State. She was banned not to conduct a rally in Kogi State. Eventually, she went there, and then the rally came on board. But the situation now, the court has ruled in favor of Senator Natasha Apoti to return to the House. But then, what does the Constitution say about the enforcement? If we are not, let's just talk about this situation as bystanders, people who are watching from afar. The Senate is doing theirs. Senator Natasha, out of the Senate, doing hers too. She was here and there on the pages of the newspaper. She granted interviews. But then, how do you think she will be able to integrate herself back into the Senate, even if the Senate brings her back on board?
Okay, looking at the kind of personality that she has, I think she's the one that does not, support backing down at any point. Speaking of interviews, apart from granting interviews in Nigeria, I think she went outside of Nigeria to also talk about this issue. And so when I listened to her, I think I watched one of the videos that, people, dropped online, and she said even during this suspension period, she has been working tirelessly. Recall what, the resident judge, said about this issue, and that's been Tayako. And she said that, how is a senator, supposed to be suspended for that long period? What will happen to the people of her constituents? And then she said, she's been working, she has not, I do, and then most of the bills that she intends to submit at the Senate, she's been working on those bills, and should she just resume work, she's going to make sure that she drops those bills so that they can be passed and things can be better for our people. So looking at Natasha, I don't think she's going to have any issues resuming back to work and then moving on with her duties as a senator representing Kogi Central. I don't think so, because looking at how she's very vocal. And she's very vocal, even though she has been able to, she paid some fines, and a lot of persons have said she could have actually avoided those fines because of some of the things she said. I feel Natasha is a type that will never back down. She says it as it is. She's never tired of interviews. Even recently, I watched an interview yesterday when the interviewer asked her that if you actually resume back in the Senate, how do you feel this man will treat you? And the person asked that question, and I think someone was trying to tell her that be careful of what you will say, because we don't want you paying another huge fine because of some of the things that you want to say. And she said, don't worry, I know what I can say. And then he said that the Senate president and of course other members of the Senate should work more on respecting other people's opinions, and of course making sure that this country is better for everyone. So back to your question, I don't think Natasha will have any issue resuming back fully to her duties, and of course working on her bills and making sure that our people are well represented in the House. Okay,
now taking a look at how it all happened, there are insinuations that if there was a sexual harassment claim, it happened a long time ago. You did not report it to anyone. Why was it that when there was a situation on the floor of the House, that was when you were able to report that? That should be separate incidents, not because you had an issue with the Senate president on the floor of the House, and it is being linked to what you said happened a long time ago. So putting that side by side, don't you think some people might think it was just a ruse, a way of trying to put the Senate president on in a tight corner by bringing something that really probably happened or did not happen a few months ago or years ago into the fray?
Okay, to that question, I think she mentioned sometime that, the pressure has been there, coming from this man, but she has not, been able to actually give in to the pressure. I think she said she even mentioned the matter to her husband, who happens to be a friend of the Senate president. So her coming out to say this, I feel maybe because of the pressure she has been, feeling from the Senate president. I think she spoke about the fact that some of her bills have been delayed, and then people are suffering, and then maybe it's part of the reason why she said, what, let's just talk about this. Recall that even recently she said she has some strong evidences, that support her claims, because members of the Senate have also come out to debunk some of the things that Natasha said, in trying to favor, the Senate President Apabio. But really, we do not know. This matter will not end here. That's one thing I'm sure of, because she says she has some strong evidences that supports that. Recently, she also came out to say that, Yahya Bello and also the Senate President were trying to kill her. So talking about this whole sexual harassment and the likes, I feel maybe she came out to talk about this thing because of the pressure that she was feeling from the Senate President, or maybe the body language in the House. We are not present there, so we cannot really say much, but maybe speculations online and based on some of the interviews that she has granted over the years, she came out to talk about this is because of the pressure. Human relationships, sometimes when you feel pressure, you tend to talk about some things that you don't want to talk about. I don't know if you're aware of that. Sometimes when you really do not want to talk about those things, but when you feel unnecessary pressure, those things will even come out, because not because you want to say them.
You can't stop it.
Exactly, but because you're agitated and you're pressured. So that's what I feel.
All right, the show is still Daybreak Live right here on Dominion Television, and this is the big story. It has not ended. Let's go on a short break, and when we return, it is coming better and bigger. We'll be back after this time out. All right, welcome back. The show is still Daybreak Live right here on Dominion Television. This is the big story. You can follow us on all social media platforms. Link up with us on YouTube channel. Drop your comment there. We are definitely going to take them. Dr. Kunle Okonola is with me in the studio this morning. He's a respected public affairs analyst, also a security expert. With him and Yemi Adilakun will be doing justice to major stories we have this morning, and that is the one of Senator Natasha Apoti-Uduaghan and the Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Apoti-Natasha. Now, taking a look at the history, about 7 senators have been suspended in history. Senator Femi Okuromo, Ogun Central, suspended in 1999 for alleging a plot to impeach President Obasanjo, later reinstated after apologizing. Joseph Waku of Benue Northwest, suspended in 2000 for saying a military coup would be preferable to President Obasanjo's rule. Now, Arthur Nzeribe of Imo in Holu, indefinitely suspended in November 2002 over alleged 22 million fraud under Senate President Ayim Pius Ahim. Isa Mohammed of Niger Central, suspended for 2 weeks in October 2004 after slapping Senator Yabo Nishulowo then. Aliu Ndume of Borno South, suspended for 6 months in March 2017 after pressing for investigation into allegations of involving Senate President Saraki and Dino Melaye, later ruled illegal and unconstitutional by the court. Ovio Omoagege of Delta Central, suspended in 2018 for opposing amendment of the Electoral Act, though the court later declared that such lengthy suspension was invalid. Away from there, Abdul Dengi of Bauchi Central, suspended for 3 months in March 2024 after alleging that the 2024 budget was padded by 3 trillion naira. Straight down the line, and that is the story of Senator Natasha Apoti-Uduaghan. Dr. Kunle Okonola, there has been a history of senators being suspended in Nigeria. Yeah. Why is this different? Why is the noise so much, and why are we having so many people saying, look, she has to be back on the floor of the House?
Majority of the people that have been...
Good morning to you. Let me put it that way.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good to have you on the show.
Good morning. Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay, now, let's back to the question.
Yeah, majority of the people that have been suspended in the Senate before are men, and this has to be a case of a woman, and most of the time when you have a case like this involving a woman, especially with the undertone of sexual harassment, then it is going to attract sympathy, from a lot of people, international bodies and women rights activists all over the place, and majority of the people. It's worthy of being noted that the Senate, has the right to discipline any member.
Sitting member.
Yes, they have the right, and the court upheld that in the judgment. That the Senate has the right. The Chapter 8 of the Senate Standing Rules, as well as the Section 14 of the Legislative House Power and Privileges Act, stipulated this. But the issue with this act is that the length of or the duration of the suspension is not mentioned here. And when you suspend as a senator, it's like you are suspending a constituency that he represents, because, they have no representation in the Senate. And in the case of Natasha now, in a year, the Senate must sit for 181 times. And you are suspending her for
6 months.
6 months, that's 180. That means that for the whole year, Kogi Central that she represents has no representation. Those are the things that makes this one to generate a lot of noise, in the society.
Okay, now going to the current situation of things. The court has ruled that Natasha Apoti-Uduaghan, senator, should be restored as a full member of the Senate.
Yeah.
But then, are you of the opinion that the Senate will allow her back onto the floor of the House? Or do you think there will be some other disciplinary actions against her?
The representative of the Senate have come out and said that, reinstatement is not automatic. It depends on a response. Part of the judgment also was the fine that she was given, 5 million naira, and also that she should make a formal apology in 2 daily newspaper and on her Facebook page because of the satirical comment she made. The Senate initially asked her to apologize, to the Senate president, and instead of doing that, she went on her Facebook and she made that satirical comment, in the sense that it's a comment to bring down the Senate, and the senators believe that it's not just bringing down the Senate president, but the whole House.
Senate.
All right. So the representative of the Senate was saying that it's the onus is on her now. She should go and do what the court says she should do, and it is what she, puts up, as an apology that will determine how the Senate will now, sit on the matter and determine when she's coming back, So what I'm trying to say is that our reinstatement is not going to be automatic. And she has to be very careful also, because she was found guilty of contempt of law. A case was already in court.
Sustained against her in court.
All right, and you went and be talking about her. You don't do that. Both parties must not, do that, and she was everywhere doing that. The moment the court gave the judgment on Friday, Sunday morning, she was on her Facebook again and saying that she's going to be back today. Today is Tuesday. Yeah. She's going to be back on Tuesday, and she has not fulfilled the requirement of the law. All right, published an apology on 2 daily newspapers, and pay the fine, and you have gone to your constituency to address the people that you are coming back. She is not the Senate president, and that's what the senators are trying to tell her. All right, do what you're supposed to do, then we will meet and we'll determine when you are coming back. You are definitely going to come back because there is a fault in the law of the Senate that indicts you. All right, and the judge is asking for the senators to review and amend their law and order, because there is no stipulated time for punishment for any member.
Okay, now Yemi, very quickly, what would you say about even if the Senate allows her back on the floor of the House, how swift is her integration going to be, judging by the fact that there are 109 senators on the floor of the House, 108 and one for the Federal Capital Territory, but right now none of them seem to support her openly while the case was ongoing. Now, how will she be able to integrate herself back into the floor of into the Senate when she returns? Yemi, very quickly.
Okay, I think she's going to experience some issues, going back to the fact that even before the suspension, she had issues with some members of the Senate, which was very open to the public. And of course, just like I said, she's the type of person that is very blunt. She doesn't really, know how to hide her feelings. So she's going to experience some issues, and then I'll say she should really tread carefully, regardless of the fact that, the Federal High Court of Abuja and the resident, judge said that, her suspension was, unconstitutional and excessive. She has that, and I think it was based on that that made her to come out and say, you know what, I'm going to resume on Tuesday. And because of that, the whole nation is alerted. We want to know what will happen, whether she's going to resume today or not. Going back to your question, she might experience some issues, but then I will advise that, she should not, take it, so she should not make it look so much like, okay, these people are attacking me or they're against me, they don't want me to represent my people well. She should tread carefully and follow the law. Even if she will have, grievances, it can be heard, in due, process, and not just, trying to attack anyone. That's what I feel. Okay,
Dr. Kunle-Okola, sometimes when we have cases like this or something similar in Nigeria, people tend to address the secondary issue and not, talk about the primary problem. Now, right now, if she's not allowed back on the floor of the House, people will think it is a personal issue. And then I want to ask you, is there any political undertone attached to this as we speak?
Oh, definitely. There are political undertone attached to it, definitely. Majority of the 109 members of the Senate, majority of them are from APC. She is representing PDP, and it's quite unbelievable that not a single person, not even the women
on the floor of the House
support of what she's doing, and that tells probably something about her character. And yesterday, more than 1,000 women came out to protest that she should not be allowed to go back, because if it's done like that, it's going to be an indictment against the sanctity of the Senate. And they are all women. They are all women, and you wonder, it speaks a volume about a character, of this person, and that's why I believe she should tread gently, because PDP is not on the majority in the House. Some other things could be planned, and if any allegation is raised against her this time around, she probably will not enjoy as much sympathy that she enjoyed. So she should be careful. And yes, she's outspoken, and she's had some issues in the past if you look into history. But coming back, I believe she should tread gently and be careful.
You mentioned that some women came out in their numbers to protest that she should not be reinstated, just like that. So what impact could this situation have on public trust in democratic institutions, the courts against the Senate? Now, the Senate have their modus operandi, their standing rule on the floor of the House, and the court is saying something else. Now, coming together, there is a gap that needs to be filled, which is the Senator Natasha Apoti-Uduaghan. If she fails to do the needful as ordered by the courts, that will bring the court and the Senate, to clash. Then what will happen? What will happen to the public trust?
Thank you. With the way Justice Nyako declared the judgment, there is no clash between the court and the Senate. The court agrees that the Senate has their own way of disciplining any member. It's in their constitution, their law and order. Chapter 8 of the Senate, Chapter 14 of the House of Representatives. But the issue is that the duration of the length of the days or times of punishment was not stipulated, and that's why Justice Nyako was advising the Senate that they should review and amend Okay, if it was stipulated in the constitution of the Senate, the law and order that you can suspend it for 6 months, she is not the only one that will have been suspended for 6 months. All right, it will stand, and nothing will be done. You know, so what I believe will happen now is that there is a committee that is responding for review and amending the constitution or the law and order of the Senate. I believe they're going to sweep into action and do something about that. You know, so there is no collision between the court, judicial, and the legislative in this matter. It is well stated. Okay, and the court also knows that the Senate as a body has the right to determine when to ask to resume, especially after she had fulfilled, you know, whatever the court said she should do. You know, and according to this spokesperson of the Senate, they said they are ready, you know, to have her back. Well, let her go and fulfill what the law says she should fulfill. Then we'll sit down and invite her. Okay, it's premature for her to have come out and said, definitely, I'm resuming on Tuesday. And I don't think she's going to be allowed, you know, in the House today. I don't think, and I don't even think she's going to try that because she hasn't fulfilled what the law says.
Okay, now if you did not, if you did not suspend yourself, why come out openly and say, oh, on so day I'll be on the floor of the House? Nigerian politicians, especially those at the corridor of power currently, are sometimes known for disregard for the rule of law. Now, what does this actually say? Coming out to say, look, I'm going back to the floor of the House when you have not even fulfilled all righteousness, what the court has told you to do. What does this say to an average Nigerian on the street who feels, oh, this should be, originally, people at the corridor of power should be role models to people. I mean, you should be the one they tend to emulate because of how you follow the rule of law. But now, things reverses the case in this situation. So what does that preach to an average Nigerian on the street?
Okay, so I really do not support the fact that, you know, she came out to say I'm going to resume today, because myself I was shocked. I mean, going back the fact that the Senate is yet to say anything concerning whether suspension will be lifted or not. And then I feel like when it comes to politics in Nigeria, regardless of how much support you get from the top people in the politics or in Nigeria, please play smart. Because at the end of the day, when the issues come up, they will be nowhere to be found. Because if this should escalate now, and then maybe the Senate will say that, okay, because of this that you have done, we might actually, you know, delay, you know, your resumption in the Senate. What will happen? So I feel like, you know, she should really, you know, play it calm and smart. Because your constituent, they might come out to say, oh, we support you, we love you, this and that. I think she's the kind of person that loves to talk to people from time to time, because I mean it's so soon, you know, you hearing from the resident judge in the Federal High Court in Abuja and coming out to tell people. I was shocked to myself, but I feel like, you know, she should really, you know, play it smart and then, you know, try to follow due process and then take time, be patient with issues, you know, before you come out to tell people, because whether you like it or not, this might actually incite, you know, some, you know, tussle even amongst people, because I mean they are expecting that she should resume today. A lot of them, I'm very sure they are hoping to see that, okay, our senator is back, because they want her to work, because whereas the Senate has not actually approved whether your suspension will be lifted or not. So I think it's not the right thing to do. She should really be patient and calm, regardless of the fact that, you know, some persons are supporting that, not necessarily part people from the Senate, maybe people from the outside. And of course, I think she has the support of some international bodies, because she left Nigeria to also take some interviews, and then the people are saying, okay, this is not right, we support this. I think apart from the fact that some women came out to say that, okay, this woman should not return, some certain people also came out to say that, you know what, she must return. There were protests in some parts of the country, and especially I think in Kogi State as well. So I feel like, you know, it's two ways. You know, she has her supporters, but do not really bank on them. Follow the law. The law will always save you when you know the law. I think she's very, no, just like she sounds very intelligent, you know. So I think that she should, I know, follow the law, regardless of, you know, the support you have, because Yoruba people will say, "Majulo Mwenye," translated, we dancing, we are after you, we are watching your back. It can actually not lead to something good at the end of the day, regardless of the support you have from people, from international bodies. Follow the law, and at the end of the day, you can actually, you know, she can resume her duties as the Senator of
Okay,
Kogi Central.
Dr. Kunle Okola, very quickly before we go on this show, because our time is fast spent, could this issue escalate into a constitutional crisis? And then what safeguard exists for Senator Natasha Apoti-Uduaghan?
It's actually translating to constitutional crisis, because presently, whether they like it or not, the Senate must review the constitution, and there must be an amendment, and that in a way will affect even the overall constitution of Nigeria. That is going to affect it. I just feel that Senator Natasha should be careful. She's not the only woman in the Senate. Even the previous women senators, they came. Senator Etagiwa came. She was there for 8 years and said she's not right. That when if you study the Senate very well, it's like I don't want to say a cult, but they have their way of doing things. You can't just be an odd person out in a community just because you have some handful of people that are inciting you to go on, and you realize even the husband has been quiet about this. So I believe she should be careful. She's a very intelligent woman. I followed most of her interviews. She's a lawyer, and she has another degree, master's degree in oil and gas and whatever. Very, very intelligent. But at the same time, you have to abide by the rule of the place where you belong. It's very important.
All right, Dr. Kunle Okola, thank you for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Kunle Okola is a respected public affairs analyst and also a security expert joining us on the show this morning. Now, the courtroom may interpret the law, but will the chamber obey? That's the heart of our big story today. As this case unfolds, one thing remains clear. Democracy thrives when all arms of government play by the rules. We'll keep watching, and so should you. Thank you for joining us on The Big Story on Daybreak Live right here on Dominion Television. Until next time, I'm Sam Sibalogun. Stay informed, stay engaged, and remember, the truth is never too far when you ask the right questions. Bye for now. We'll be back shortly for Trend Watch.